Good evening, everyone. We are Ilio Studios, here to present you our Greenlight presentation for RootinTootinCowboyShootin. My name is Howard DePaiva.
My name is Joe Printon, and I am the designer.
I'm Daniel Hartman, the systems programmer.
I'm Nick Price, and I'm the second programmer.
In Rootin' Tootin' Cowboy Shootin', as a player, you're doing four main things. You're commanding a posse of cowboys, defending a series of Wild West towns and environments, recruiting new cowboys to your gang, and uncovering the mysteries of the region. The main gameplay loop has a player commanding their posse of cowboys, each with unique weapons and abilities through various combat encounters, which ties directly into defending, as the player's main goal of combat is to save the civilian populace of the towns they come across in their travels, be that through defeating the outlaws that plague the town itself, or defending specific buildings within the town during combat. The whole time the player is looking through towns to recruit new cowboys, gunslingers, former outlaws, bounty hunters, and more to their cause, each with their own weapons and special abilities to be used in combat. Lastly, the player is also uncovering the mysteries of what happened here. Why has there been a surge in bandits and criminals? Why have towns and their people been disappearing? Through the game and the story, the player will slowly uncover the nature of the evil that has descended upon their corner of the West.
We have the saloon, got some small houses here. Yeah, some gallows. Gotta have some gallows. So it's a church and all these other props that you see scattered about. So these blue cylinders are the cowboy units, and you can select them by left clicking on them and right click to tell them where to go. You can select as many of these as you want, and you'll right click and they'll all go there. And they use a Unity's built-in nav mesh system, which will make pathfinding very easy. And also the enemies use that, which we'll show in a second. Some responsive enemies. So the number above their heads is how much health they have, and these little green lines is their line of sight checks to make sure that they're not trying to shoot something through the wall or anything like that. The enemy AI is not very smart right now. It just randomly picks an alive cowboy to pursue and relentlessly pursues it until that cowboy is dead. So he'll spawn a whole bunch of these guys, and you'll see they'll start attacking.
Within this game, there are a few win and loss scenarios. For starter, the town you're defending is in danger, and it's up to your squad to defend it. Now, if you don't successfully defend the town, it's not an automatic game over, but it could end up being a huge detriment to the story. If any of your units fall, they're gone for good. And ultimately in the Wild West, it's a kill or be killed scenario, and the only way to win is by defeating all of your enemies.
The art direction for Rootin' Tootin' Cowboy Shootin' is a kind of maximalized minimalism, where art assets are by themselves quite stylized and flatly colored, with additional detail added through post-processing, lighting, and shaders done in the Unity engine. The high stylization of game elements allows the player to better see what's going on from their strategic camera perspective, with level elements, objectives, player units, and enemy units each having a distinct color palette. During the dialogue portions of the game, we want to convey a sense of heroes of the Wild West, with similarly stylized art for each recruitable character in the game to be displayed when that character is talking so that they are more unique and visually appealing to the player.
Our target audience consists of three main players. Those that enjoy strategy games first and foremost. Our game is on a smaller scale, and therefore players that don't enjoy having to manage large-scale armies in other RTS games are able to enjoy our game a little bit more. The second type of player that our game is targeting are those who enjoy, common genres but want a little twist on them. In our case, we're dealing with sort of the idea of cowboys and the Wild West, but we're putting a little bit of a magical spin to it. And then the third player type that we are targeting are those that care about rich stories and rich character interactions, which our game is focusing on.
In the future, we would like to implement some new mechanics that have their own sets of risks and rewards to them. For example, we would like to implement an enemy AI that pursues nearby players, and if there are no nearby players, they would attack structures or NPCs. This would be a higher risk mechanic because of how multifaceted the AI would have to be in order to achieve these kinds of results. Second, we would like to add a recruitment mechanic that would typically happen in between combat sections. For this, players would have a chance to meet an NPC that they could potentially recruit in battle. This one wouldn't quite be as difficult, but it would still have its own risks to it because then the game would have to keep track of which NPCs have been recruited and which NPCs have not been recruited. And finally, we would like to implement unit abilities, wherein characters can have an active or passive ability and can equip items for added bonuses. This one would be much lower risk because it's relatively easy to program.
The feasibility of our game is based around these three things. The expandability of our design that allows us to utilize the agile development system to its fullest. Our game consists of a few basic mechanics, and we can polish those up and turn them into a finished product. However, as I just said, our game idea is also very expandable. The second being that the Unity engine makes multiple features very easy to implement, such as our navigation system using the nav mesh that Unity offers us for free. And the third is that our team has a specialization diversity. Both of our programmers specialize in different areas, and our designer specializes in a few areas, which allows us to cover a lot of bases, even though we are down an artist. As for our platform, this one's fairly simple and straightforward. We are selling on Steam. Most RTS games are played on PC, so we figured it would be the best market to introduce our game to. We're selling our game at a $15 selling point. Steam takes a 30% cut of that, which means that we will receive $10.15 per copy sold of our game on Steam. Looking forward into our game's development, we intend to introduce some more town variety, whether that be different layouts of the original town or randomization of that, as well as allowing our players to enter different towns to defend against various bandits, monsters, or otherwise. The second thing that we're looking to expand upon is a feature that allows our players to either travel between towns, like I mentioned previously, as well as travel between sort of camping areas where they'll be allowed to speak to NPCs and gain items or gain insights on the world itself. The third thing being characters and enemies' abilities. So basically sort of overhauling the combat and making it a lot more complex while still staying true to its original roots. And the fourth being narrative. We intend to expand on sort of the lore in the universe, the sort of the why our players are here. Last but most certainly not least is the fresh meat. So this is basically what we need and what we want in terms of developers should we move forward in the Greenlight process. First and foremost, our team currently is without an artist, so getting both a character artist and an environment artist would be ideal. However, we would obviously settle with one or the other. Next up is a level designer. We currently have a narrative designer, so getting a level designer would make it a lot easier to improve the overall play experience for our players. And lastly, as for the devs that we need, would be an AI programmer. Currently, we have a UI programmer and general systems programmer. So having an AI programmer, again, would assist in the actual majority of the gameplay when fighting the enemies. What we want, it would be nice if we could get another systems programmer as well as a systems designer. We don't necessarily need these, but it would be nice just to have more hands-on. That was our project, RootinTootinCowboyShootin by Elio Studio. We hope you enjoyed our presentation, and we hope that you consider us for Greenlight. Thank you very much.